My friends, the great experiment.
Down on the lower decks.
Hidden trick.
Would you look at that?
The greatest trick.
And you people, you're all astronauts on some kind of Star Trek.
The greatest trick.
Welcome to Greatest Trek. It's a new Star Trek podcast from the makers of The Greatest Generation. I'm Adam Pranica.
I'm Ben Harrison.
Rare Friday record for us.
Yeah, I think this is it going forward, though, right? We've been informed by our corporate overlords at CBS or Paramount or whatever the fuck it's called these days.
I'm glad they just came right out and said, you're going to get them when you get them, and when you get them is going to be Friday. Like, having some news is better than no news.
Yeah.
Now we can make a plan.
It is, yeah, that's true. It is really weird to be, like, back in a thing where, like, a giant corporation making a decision has something to do with what happens in my life, though. Like, I thought...
Oh, really? You've been living your life without that happening to you? That's amazing.
Just feel like I thought being like an independently employed podcaster would insulate us somewhat, but no.
Oh, we got to get the fish biscuits from them and do what we do.
Hey, you got yourself a fish biscuit.
We're still dependent in that one specific way.
Yeah, we are.
Check it out. They're dependent on us.
To sell some Paramount Plus subscriptions?
I could never. Here's my ad for the Paramount Plus app. Are you looking to download a application for watching television that for some reason operates on a totally different and baffling set of rules? Rules that don't keep in mind your specific preferences, the shows that you've ever watched and may want to return to in a sequence. Shows that may just shut themselves and the application off, all willy-nilly, whenever it feels like it.
Use promo code SCARVES and go to ParamountPlus.com.
It's an adventure. It's an adventure every time.
It very much is.
I'll tell you one thing, Ben.
Yeah.
I'm glad we get the screeners, because it gets me around the app.
Weirdly, the screener app that they have, in many ways, more functional.
Oh, it's solid as Sears.
than the public-facing. I was thinking about that the other day because I was trying to remember which Lower Decks episode something happened in, and I went back to season 1 and was like scanning around in a couple of season 1 episodes, and I was like, man, as far as the Paramount Plus app knows, I have never watched this show. I've pretty much watched them all as screeners. It doesn't know that that's one of my, like if it had an algorithm that worked, it would not have the data point of Ben appreciates Lower Decks.
One giant space hand doesn't know what the other giant space hand is doing on the Paramount Plus app, Ben.
Hey, speaking of giant space hand, after that Gods and Angles episode, I went back and watched that TOS episode. I didn't know that was Giant Space Hand episode.
Yeah. Giant Space Hand app.
Yeah. Man. So stupid. Why is the hand green when everything else, when they go down there, not?
Oh, that's a Dr. Star Trek question if I've ever heard one. That seems like production wagging the creative dog as a decision, right?
Yeah. It's like, we're going to dip your hand in green makeup that we will find out years later is terribly carcinogenic, but it's the only way we have of doing the photographic process of cutting the hand out so it looks like it's floating in space.
I want to see that hand today.
It still looks exactly the same because the green dye never came off and it perfectly preserved the hand. The body it's attached to, long dead. The hand, in mint condition.
If you could be any color, Ben, permanently, and you had to choose. Let's just say from the basic small box 10 crayon box of crayons.
Yeah.
What color do you decide to be permanently?
Okay. Feel like
I better look up what colors those are. That would be good.
I was recently in a Target in the art supplies aisle looking for stuff for Daron, and I was shocked at how inexpensive like a 120 color box of Crayolas is.
A box of 8 crayons is $3. That's a meal right there.
That's value.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I coveted that huge box of 1 billion colors of crayons when I was a kid, and it was never available. Like, that was for rich kids, as far as I knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think that there's a bunch of colors that you can pick that are bad, and you're going to be in a lot of trouble, like in life, if you choose to be red or yellow, for example.
I wouldn't say that.
I think that people would take offense, and rightfully so. And I wouldn't want to do that. So
But wouldn't everyone know that you have had to choose a color out of a crayon box, and that's the reason why you look the way you do?
Yes, and if you show up the color of a black crayon, and everybody knows that you had 8 colors to choose from, and that's the one you picked, you're a bad person.
Yeah, but the thing is, the color of black crayon is not the color of any person. It's black.
It's not. No, it's specifically the color of blackface.
Whose fault is that? That's blackface's fault. It's not my fault.
Yeah. What I'm telling you, Adam, is don't pick black. I promise you will regret picking black.
If you could only hear yourselves.
As a Star Trek fan, I think the safe choice is green. I'm a big fan of the sexy vibes of the Orions. I don't necessarily sign off on the way they set their society up, but if I want to be sexy and a color, I'm going green.
That seems like a missed opportunity when purple is an option.
Well, I'm not permitted to choose the colors that I would pick, so I think we better get to the episode, Ben.
Oh, God.
It is Lower Decks, Season 5, Episode 7.
Yeah, the final season of Lower Decks and the last episode of Greatest Trek.
It's called Fully Dilated.
You know the greatest danger facing us is an irrational fear of the unknown.
Who knows when Boimler's gonna get his together?
There's a big debris field floating in space, and the Cerritos shows up in that debris field to shut another fissure. These have just been popping up everywhere. They're getting used to shutting these.
Third one this week.
But this one is interesting because it opened a dimension in which the Enterprise D is purple, and the purple D came through and visited our universe.
We've been talking a lot about purple as a science fiction color. Maybe that's the color crayon I choose. That's not an option, though, is it?
I think that's an option.
Isn't it violet?
Oh.
Yeah, violet's in the basic box.
Yeah. Violet's a kind of purple.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law would love you.
Yeah, maybe that's too close. Maybe that's closer than I want to be. Purple D is what we got, and it's, gotta say, pretty comforting to see the image of a D of any color floating around in space.
How about just the D? If you had to pick a crayon and change the color of just the D, which one would you pick?
I think orange is like a mirror universe color, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like those details kind of mean mirror. So I don't know.
That's
maybe
exciting.
that.
Yeah.
I'm going to go black again.
Oh, boy.
How badass would it look? It would look so awesome. It looks stealthy.
When you drop trow, I think everybody would be like, oh my God, what happened to him? Is that frostbite?
I thought you were talking about the Enterprise D.
No.
We're not on the same page.
It's a bad show. Anyways, yeah, T'Lyn and Tendi are up on the bridge, sciencing it up, and they get a little tip of the hat from Captain Freeman, who says they're both looking pretty good at that science station, and mentions offhandedly that she is in the process of trying to pick between them for who will have the role of senior science officer on board the Cerritos.
Got to be more careful when you say things in passing like this. You can't just break the science station in half, put it in the middle of the pool table, and have Tendi and T'Lyn fight over it.
Oh, sure.
What did she think was going to happen?
I mean, T'Lyn's got that superior Vulcan strength. She's going to fucking stab Tendi.
They're both very qualified, but only one of them is very enthusiastic, and that's obviously Tendi. And Rutherford tries to calm her nerves which crop up almost immediately as soon as word of this job opening is made clear. And look at Rutherford. Rutherford's rocking a Geordie beard.
Yeah.
He's looking really good.
It's coming in all at once in a way that I can't even claim.
I've been getting a lot of compliments. I'm sure you have too.
It's weird. I haven't.
Do roommates synchronize facial hair like other things? Because it seems like that's what's going on with Rutherford and Boimler.
I think that after the last episode and Rutherford coming up with the idea that Boimler is onto something, that copying a mirror universe version of yourself that you admire is a great way to succeed in life. And it's just an easier lift for him to grow a great big beard.
Guess so. For some people, it's so easy. For Boimler, he looks like this.
Don't worry, roomie. Yours will grow in.
So they discover right as they're about to zip the fissure closed that the Purple D left something on a nearby planet, Delmer 3, and they're going to have to go get that thing because they don't want it to contaminate a pre-warp society. And Shax is real bent out of shape over the idea of a mission that the senior bridge crew would have to go on because it's taquito night, Adam.
Seems like a California-class ship is going to do way more fun theme nights than the theme nights we would get on the D, which would involve, like, little plays that Beverly Crusher would direct or concertos or whatever.
Poetry slams.
That obviates your basic hedonistic predilection for a rhythmic stroking of your fur to demonstrate affection.
Which sort of means to me that, like, if you miss Taquito Night, and I definitely understand how great Taquito Night is, Taquito Night comes up again, right? It's a regular thing. You're going to get another.
Is it weekly? Is it Taquito Tuesday? Or is it like a monthly thing? Because I feel like Taquito Tuesday, that's starting to be like a too many taquitos situation.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't do that many. It loses its luster. It stops being special if it's that frequent. What's the most regular night you have, Ben, in your household?
Night when I drink a great big pot of black coffee, just park it on the commode, you know.
Jesus.
Makes me regular.
Guess so.
How about Flautas Friday? Also problematic to have it that often, you know? Just too much fried food.
I don't know what problematic means to you anymore. As a definition.
Pretty much any choice I wouldn't make, probably.
So after the theme, we're in 6 Bay, and Dr. Katz...
Her name is Dr. Tahana.
...is getting to work on making Tendi and T-Lin and Mariner look like the inhabitants of this pre-warp society on Delmer 3. And one thing I noticed in this scene that maybe I haven't noticed, because this is like, Tendi's gone undercover before, plenty.
Yeah.
She's got a green tongue.
She does have a
Did
green
you
tongue.
always know this?
Yeah, I think we've noticed that the inside of her mouth is Orion specific.
That's the one thing that Dr. Katz doesn't get, and I was expecting it to be a problem the rest of the episode.
I always wonder about this, because like you see in movies all the time, like especially old movies when somebody's got a lot of makeup on and they open their mouth, the inside of their mouth will betray that this is makeup on a person and kind of bumps you out a second. You know, you can't suspend disbelief when you see, but like we have popsicle technology. We can make tongues blue. Like why are the makeup departments not employing food dyes to make the insides of people's mouths match the loaf that they're putting on?
I mean, it would make all those popsicle parties that our parents heard about on afternoon television be a lot more real, right? Not just theoretical.
I think make popsicle parties real is a goal that makeup departments should set for themselves.
Yeah. This is a pre-warp and pre-industrial planet, which means it's a shit planet, Ben. It's a bug planet. And while Tendi makes the case that 2 science officers might be overkill, T-Lin and her cauterized scent receptors will be going along.
Mariner doesn't want to break up the gals for a girls' trip. I mean, Mariner's got to have noticed that Tendi is super thirsty for this job, right?
What does Mariner notice is a great question that could be asked in every episode of Lower Decks. I'm not so sure is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but would Mariner play a favorite? Would she like help Tendi get the job like ahead of Teal'c? Would she do Teal'c dirty like that if she had noticed?
I don't think she would. I think Mariner has a code, and I think that would be against it.
A command officer has got to have a code.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah. So in the transporter room, Rutherford and Boimler are toasting their giant Bloody Marys with enormous garnish.
These are micheladas, Adam, not Bloody Marys.
Oh, right. I mean, they look the same to me.
Whoa. Oh, man. All of your crayon stuff and now this? What the hell, Adam?
You know what? That sounds like I'm besmirching the fine animators responsible for drawing these drinks. Mm-hmm. The drawings are correct. I am what's wrong.
Here's the thing, Adam. I think it's in the writing that we find our confusion because the premise of this is that there are big, crazy garnishes on these beverages.
Micheladas with all the fixins.
And that is something I associate far more with the culture of Bloody Marys and Bloody Marias than I do with the culture of micheladas.
You're right, Ben, that I am right to have thought this.
We get a little bit of like the rules of the episode here. This is a planet in a time dilation scenario, and so time passes much faster on the surface. From Boimler and Rutherford's perspective, the girls' trip is going to last seconds, but from their perspective, it could last weeks. So they're going down with an amulet that will blink when it's time to get to the exfil site and get beamed up out of sight of any superstitious natives who could interpret them as ascending gods or whatever.
There's something about the specificity of this ratio that I wanted to talk to you about, which is a second on Cerritos is a week on Dolmer 3. And I don't think you say that in the show unless you want us to pay attention to that. Mm-hmm. That means, I'm just doing the back of the napkin math, 52 seconds on the Cerritos is a year down on the planet. Mm-hmm. That is clearly not the passage of time that we get on the ship as the episode goes on. And so what I wanted to ask was, that's intentional, right? Like, this is a show making fun of that aspect to science fiction shows and Star Trek specifically, where you can go ahead and say in dialogue a ratio like that and be blown away by how amazing the concept is, and yet have the episode that follows not subscribe to those rules or boundaries for it. Do you think that's what's going on?
Yeah, I think it's like a, fuck your ratio. This is fun Star Trek, not a math problem, maybe.
Right.
In kind of the same motion, Boimler beams them down, and the garnish from his drink pokes him in the eye, and he spills the drink all over the transporter controls, and he and Rutherford are like in a full-blown panic.
When you get a drink with a garnish in it that sticks out, you take it out, right? You don't leave it in, do you?
Such an ostentatious skewer.
I mean, yeah, like the Bloody Marys that specifically have like a chicken wing and a mini hamburger and a lobster roll or whatever, like that you eat the food first, right?
Yes. But I would argue even with appropriate accompaniments, I'm either, scraping them off of the skewer into the drink so they can be bobbing in there, mm-hmm. or I'm setting them on a cocktail napkin so that I can enjoy next to a drink that is now drinkable because the giant sharp object is no longer inside it.
If it's just like a lime wedge or something, I'll sometimes like squeeze the lime a little bit and then just like drop it on top of the ice. But I want it to be near my nose because there's an olfactory benefit of the garnish.
Yeah.
But this is like shrimp is not providing an olfactory improvement on michelada. And
also the transporter panel is slanted in a way that makes setting anything on it kind of impossible. Why do you think they're holding their drinks instead of setting them on the controls? It's because the drinks would slide off.
Yeah. Yeah, there should be cup holders on the transporter panel. You sold me.
The plan is to disguise a return beacon in the necklace that Teelin is wearing. So they're going to get a signal when they're down there that it's time to go back to the area of transport.
I said all
Did
that.
You?
Yeah.
Okay. I wasn't listening.
Clearly. So we get to check out this town, kind of, I don't know, Shakespeare-y kind of level of technology maybe. And I loved the look of it. I love how much Lower Decks can just design the shit out of an alien environment because they don't have to build extensive sets. They can just draw it. We meet a local right off the bat, a individual named Snell, who is very suspicious of them because they don't have any globbers, which is the local currency.
They're making their way through this town because the Enterprise D purple tech is a few kilometers away, however fucking long that is. Who even knows? They find what they're looking for in a crater outside of this town. It's the wreckage of a purple shuttlecraft, and they start destroying the evidence like they're there to do. They don't want this to fall into the hands of any of the townspeople, but they can't destroy all of it because one of these things is a purple data head.
Mm-hmm. They're like just discovering this when Snell pokes his head over the rim of the crater, and he's followed them.
What are you three up to?
Oh, Snell!
They have to hide Data's head behind their backs and convince him that they're there looking for globbers because they're so fucking broke. Finally, Teelin convinces him to get the hell out of there by juggling, which is something he has never seen before. You know, they say like, oh, we normally charge for this, so you better stop watching.
Pretty quick thinking from Teelin. I would have expected the improv chops to come from Mariner, but no.
Sure.
Teelin in there, saving the day. Good job by her.
Or the karate chops to come from Tendi. Like, a lot of ways to get Snell off their back, but juggling was a nice surprise.
The necklace hasn't blurped, but still the group is going to go meet up at those transport coordinates. And wait, why isn't this thing blinking? What the hell happened on the Cerritos? Because remember, in Cerritos time, it was only supposed to be seconds. Like, you don't even leave the transporter room if you're Rutherford and Boimler. Why aren't they getting beamed back? Why isn't this thing blinking? Guess they'll have to crash at that shack that they passed on the way to the crater. So that's what they decide to do.
They did say shack, but what they passed was very clearly like a 2-story, like stately country home.
Yeah, it was a foreclosure house. That's what it looked like.
Yeah, kind of McMansion that somebody got underwater on. So back up on the Cerritos, Boimler and Rutherford just frantically trying to clean off the control panel, eventually resorting to taking their tops off to try and wipe up the booze. And we cut back down. It's been quite a while now, months, and Mariner is like lolling around on the floor, bored out of her mind, when Tendi comes home. Tendi's been sciencing it up, just going absolutely ham, doing science. And Mariner's like, man, maybe I should treat this like an inner light situation and have like a profound life-affirming experience while I'm down here.
As if you can just choose that for yourself.
I gotta find a flute!
Seems to be an activity she could do instead of just laying on the floor. Like, the other two appear to be at least busy. You know, Tendi with her grocery getting, and Teelin with her advances in agribusiness that she starts now. She's made a windmill outside, and she's used it to mill the flour that she's brought to the house.
I did really like that we never got to see the windmill. Felt a bit like a nod to a TNG idea of like, yeah, we'll just say that there's a windmill.
Wow, look at that thing. It's just wind. I love it.
I'm going to say to you and the rest of the FODs out there and just declare utterly once and for all that I'm the dumb of the two of us. because like windmills didn't exist before the need to mill wheat into flour, right? Like you'd never just have a windmill out in a field just spinning, doing its spinny business, right? Like mill is in the name because that's what its job is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think probably before they came up with the idea of using wind, they probably just had beasts of burden walk in a circle or Conan's the Barbarian or whatever.
I'm such a fucking idiot because it took like writing the word windmill in my notes to be like windmill, like windmill.
He's on drugs.
Man,
that's its whole purpose.
The Dutch weren't just a bunch of idiots after all.
It's not purely decorative. This is what I realized today. Amazing.
Hey, cheaters don't deserve nothing in Latin.
Well, there's a new ship. She's got the right name. She's got the right name. Now, you remember that, you hear?
So as Mariner goes off to have her semi-probe kind of life, Snell is on the doorstep, a Snell that she pushes away with the pointy parts of a broom.
Get out of here, Snell. Go get a life. Yeah.
I love this detail. The jabbing that she does.
Right in the face. That's going to poke his damn eye out.
Yeah, that's got to hurt. Always lurking. That's Snell.
Why is there always a suspicious lurker when you're in a Carbon Creek situation?
Tendi manages to build some machinery that gets Data's head to fire back up. And she has a conversation with him about how, you know, they're kind of marooned on this planet for the time being. She is really hoping that she can do enough science stuff while she's down here that it will result in her being promoted to senior science officer when she gets back. But T-Lin is sciencing her ass off too. It's a bit of a race, and Data offers to lend a hand. He's no slouch in the science department.
All this happens as Snell looks on from a tree outside like he's George McFly's... I was going to say George McFly's dad. We never meet George McFly's dad. We meet George McFly.
Yeah, we meet George Actual.
Yeah, George McFly's peeping in that tree.
How's it peeping?
It's a charming meet cute.
Yeah.
So Mariner goes to a bar. She would like to make a best bud here in town so that she can get her inner light experience going. And she sidles up to someone and accidentally pokes one of her giraffe horns into his eye because she's not really used to having them and doesn't think to avoid stabbing people with them. This results in her being slammed in jail.
Good job by Dr. Katz in attaching these horns.
Mm-hmm.
This is real sturdy loaf. I expected either at this point or any point after this in the episode, a horn was going to get ripped off, or otherwise, you know, like it would betray their true alienness to the rest.
Yeah, I think this is surgery loaf, right?
Must be.
In this era of Trek.
It's really doing the job.
Stupid undercover plastic surgery jobs. I didn't go to Starfleet Medical for a costume party.
Boimler and Rutherford still frantically trying to clean up Michelada, and back on the surface, another few months later, Tendi has now wired the windmill up to her generator that's powering Data's head. We see the inner workings of the windmill, but never the outer.
Ben, we sped past something I really wanted to talk to you about.
Okay.
When Rutherford and Boimler are sopping up the mess on the transporter panel.
Yes.
We are told that the uniform has terrible absorbency. Did this shock you? Why wouldn't Starfleet uniforms have great absorbency?
Well, they said that it was absorbing some stuff, but not other stuff. Like almost like it was like filtering the solids out of the Michelada or something.
Don't you want to know more about that? Why is it doing it that way?
I mean, man, like these advanced fabrics, they're doing amazing things these days with like, you know, making a synthetic fiber out of bamboo and then it like wicks sweat away from your butt.
I want to know more about how these uniforms are made. given what they do and do not absorb.
Yeah. Tendi and Data have really developed a relationship, but it seems like nobody else in the shack knows about the Data head being functional these days because T-Lin knocks on the door and Tendi has to like throw a bed sheet over the workbench that Data is on to conceal him from T-Lin.
Tendi fashioned hydroelectric power up in the attic. What is the hydro running through it?
Is it a watermill then? Did she build a watermill and T-Lin built a windmill? Why would you need two mills?
They're competing mills is what they are.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like Tendi is keeping pace in this science race if she built a watermill.
It's a power supply arms race is what it is.
Is a windmill producing aeroelectric power?
I like the sound of that.
I've never heard that talked about, when like you drive through a mountain pass where they put up a bunch of wind power turbines. It's never like this is an aeroelectric generation facility.
Much like T'Pol in Carbon Creek, T-Lin has got great big melons. She's wondering if Tendi is willing to walk into town with her and these. And this is an offer that Tendi turns down.
I get it. It can be very intimidating when somebody with melons this size walks into a room,
I mean, Tendi practically slams the door on her. She is super upset about having to compete for a job against someone with giant melons. But it is just in her head.
Her Data head, that is, and he is talking to her about how, well, it's easier for Vulcans because they have to sleep so little. And Tendi's like, perfect idea. I will start taking stimulants and sleeping less and just like work myself to the bone. That's the way I will get this job.
Mm-hmm.
Mariner is finally out of jail. She did the crime. She served the time and she's back on the streets feeling like she's really behind in, her path to becoming an enlightened person due to her beautiful life experience on this planet. And she's like, what am I going to do to become a pillar of this community? I will put out this fire that I'm looking at. And she pops one of T-Lin's giant grapes over this fire. But it turns out that this was a ceremonial eternal flame. And right back to the pokey with Mariner. It's like season 1.
T-Lin's got a booth at this farmer's market, and her produce is enormous. It's not just melons and grapes. It's everything.
Yeah.
Ben, what would be the best giant fruit or vegetable, you think?
I don't know, because she has those carrots, and that sounds awful. Like that much carrot just seems like hard to cut up, hard to like find a use for that much carrot at the same time.
I feel exactly the opposite, and here's why.
Really?
I feel like anything else would spoil too fast. Like, at least if you've got root vegetables, like you could just whack off a knob of that, chop it up, put it into a recipe, and like you're good to go for a long time. But like, how fast is a grep gonna spoil? Like, it's gonna get soft and squishy almost immediately. That's no good.
But giant raisin is fun, and also making an entire bottle of wine out of one grape, that's fun.
How horrifying would giant raisin look? It would look very alien, I bet.
Yeah. Do you think if you had giant carrot, you could cut it thin enough that it could be like a substitute for a tortilla for somebody that's like watching how much carbs they're eating? Like, would it have the tensillary strength to make a burrito where it's just carrot?
God, I think it probably would.
Seems like it would, right?
Why would you ever make a burrito out of a carrot skin?
Because you're watching, you're doing Atkins or something.
Is that what Atkins people do?
Yeah, they substitute like lettuce for a burger bun,
Oh, like a lettuce cup at a cheesecake factory.
We had some friends that were doing keto for a while, and we went out to Guisados for tacos with them, and they got all their tacos on little circles of cabbage leaf instead of on tortillas.
Wow, that's a way to have a really bad time at a dinner.
Yeah, it's like, seems like keto is stupid as fuck, and you shouldn't do it if this is this is how you have to eat at Guisados.
Hey, let's all go out to dinner, and you could watch me suffer. That would be fun. That'd be fun for everyone.
The greatest trick
is yet to come.
Speaking of enjoying Mexican-inflected eats, Boimler and Rutherford are now licking the michelada off of the panel and talking about how the transporter chief is a dirty motherfucker who doesn't wash his hands before he goes to work. I mean, it's like desperate times, right? They have to lick so that they can rescue their friends, but yuck.
I get back to the ratio with this. Like, why wouldn't they just leave and get a squeegee or something? It makes sense that you wouldn't leave. Every second counts.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Every moment you have to wipe away is what you're going to take. And that's what they're doing. And before they know it, 10 months have passed on the planet.
This is one of those situations where slow is steady, steady is fast does not actually work for the away team.
Also not working is Tendi, who is passed out at the attic table next to Data's purple head. And the tension between her and T-Lin is great. And the pressure on Tendi to be more productive, also great. Data is encouraging her, though, to get more sleep. That's how you'll be more productive. You're only going to be at your best if you're fully rested. This is his point.
Mm-hmm.
But she's not trying to hear that. She stuffs his head in a sack and takes him into town. And in town, Tendi is looking for alternate power supplies when she sees T-Lin's kiosk. And what is she selling? It's not booze. It's hair tonic.
Yeah.
2 for a globber. And business is great.
They are now wealthy, and they've really improved the self-confidence of the locals without violating the Prime Directive. Being wealthy in a primitive society's got a lot of advantages, but definitely one of them is not that like people aren't interested in what you're up to. And Snell has stayed snooping on this entire situation. As we learn all of this, Boimler and Rutherford finally get enough shit cleared off of the glass that they can signal the amulet. And back on the surface, Tendi is back in the house where she's talking to the data head, and Snell sees this all from the rafters. He snuck in.
Yeah. When Tendi is passed out from fatigue and T-Lin pops up to see what's going on, Snell attacks T-Lin and knocks her out too, and then ties him up back to back. And Snell, the creepy lurker, starts popping off about how people in town are going to have to respect him now that his lurking has led to the discovery of 2 witches and a purple-headed android, and he leaves to go round up the angry mob that's going to be on his side for sure. But unfortunately, that leaves Tendi and T-Lin alone. And it's clear as they talk that Tendi was way off about her feelings on what T-Lin was doing and why, because just because T-Lin is great at some things doesn't mean that she's doing those things at Tendi. And that's how Tendi was interpreting the whole situation.
They have a nice reconciliation here. T-Lin has been doing all of this stuff to make life more comfortable for her away team and to like build a better connection between herself and Tendi specifically. And Tendi was interpreting all of this as T-Lin being super competitive, and they've both kind of decided that senior science officer is not for them. If Tendi was sweating this hard trying to keep up with T-Lin and T-Lin wasn't even trying, that's enough to convince Tendi to take herself out of contention. And if T-Lin can't communicate her true desires to Tendi and causes this much distress, then maybe working next to the captain is something that she should hold off on until she's got her social skills up a little bit better.
Yeah. I mean, also, she was intimidated by her giant melons.
I can't compete with that.
Who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
They're supple and beautiful.
They use Data's head to chew off their ropes and get them free.
I guess Data is the rope master now.
Wow, you really are fully functional.
Over in the jail cell that Mariner is locked into, she throws her soap flute across the cell. I mean, soap flute is a name for a lot of things in a jail cell, I think probably. And it's clear that maybe this whole experience wasn't about learning to play a flute. It was about the jailhouse family she made along the way.
We love you, big man. You're one of us.
And these guys don't seem so bad.
Yeah, just because they've taken the lives of other members of their society doesn't make them evil, does it?
No, not at all.
I think they're misunderstood and in many cases a product of their society.
I know you would. Mariner is released from her cell because Teelin is a powerful business person and the law doesn't apply to you in moments like that. So they all head toward the rendezvous point, but they don't make it very far before the angry mob promised by Snell appears and confronts them. And he goes after the bag that he thinks Data's head is in, and Data's head isn't in there. Instead, it's a giant grip.
It's the giant grep switcheroo.
Yeah. How horrifying would it be if there was a giant raisin in there, though? It changes the whole moment.
The angry mob would have, in fact, killed the away team in that scenario, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
It is a head, and it's shriveled up. So the mob turns on Snell. His reputation is ruined, and people are, like, telling him to get a job and stuff.
Wouldn't this result in the transformation of Snell into a sort of penguin-like supervillain in town? I think this is the last straw for Snell.
We hear about Joker origin stories. We never hear about penguin origin stories. This is it. This is one.
You'd have to turn on a different streaming service to get plugged into that one.
Trust me. It's just the beginning.
So they make it to the exfil site, worried that Snell is going to catch them, but they beam out just before he makes it to where they are, so he doesn't see the transporter go. Tendi is the one that lays into Boimler and Rutherford over what the fuck, guys.
Boimler, what the hell happened?
They just fucking lie through their teeth.
Yeah. I mean, they're shirtless and covered in michelada. Like, do they feel like they're credible in this moment? Is this one of those lies that you know isn't believable, so you're just like doing it as a thing to say, as anything to say?
Like when I would go to parties in my 20s and people would ask me what I do for a living, and I would say Pulitzer Prize winning novelist, just because, like, yeah, it's nothing.
And then that would be the last party you'd be invited to at that particular place.
It was a thing of beauty because, it cleared my social calendar right up. A lot of extra free time on my hands.
That benefits everyone involved.
Data winds up in Freeman's office, and he weighs in on the senior science officer question. He's been in the field with them for a year, so he's seen up close what these two are capable of. And we cut away to the bar where Tendi and Teelin show up and announce that they are co-senior science officers.
I think they are the two crew people who are perfect for having split a promotion, right? Any other two, there would be bad feelings about having to share this, I think.
I think so. And yet, like, they can really, like, yin each other's yangs. And I think that this episode made a really compelling case for that in a way that I didn't really realize it was doing along the way.
Also, it makes all the sense in the world on a ship made up of shifts. Like, Teelin can be the science officer on one shift. Tendi can be the one on the other.
I mean, given how little sleep she needs, Teelin can probably do, like, shifts 2 and 3, you know?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Yeah.
You think that they're doing a 3-shift rotation on the Cerritos?
Who the fuck knows?
Well, Mariner, so excited to show off her skills of a flautist at the end of this. She rocks out on her soap flute while we watch a Mark Iv torpedo tube with a purple data head in it fire out of the Cerritos and go through the fissure.
That's really the main takeaway, isn't it? When you go down to a pre-warp society, you either kick someone's ass right away or you learn to play the soap flute. That's how you get by.
Did you like this episode, Adam?
She'll always bring it home.
Yeah, it really did. What a weird one.
Yeah.
I love getting pre-warp. it seems like there are myriad variations of this. Like you can be pre-warp in all kinds of ways. This is just one of them.
This is one of the best ways. A real nice episode. Nice character study of T'Lyn and Tendi. And I mean, Christopher Nolan does this with every movie, right? Like there's like some shit happening at one speed of time and some shit happening at another speed of time. And it's up to you to like stitch it together in your head how that works. And the cutting back to Boimler and Rutherford panicking over the course of 52 seconds was a lot of fun for me.
Do you ever think about what you would do or how long you would last or maybe how successful you would be?
All I think about is how long I would last.
If you were to be put onto a pre-warp society, like, and made to make a go of it, like, could you thrive? Given you're a man of advanced intelligence, what do you think you'd be able to make of yourself if you were in windmill times? You know?
Yeah.
Could you build a windmill if windmills didn't exist?
I don't know if I could. Like I've got some carpentry skills, but I don't know how mappable they are onto a like no power tool lifestyle.
You know what? You'd be a pretty good idea guy for someone like Leonardo da Vinci.
Sure. Yeah.
Da Vinci.
It's Sato.
You know, I could be the power behind the throne.
Yeah, you play that guy's soap flute, and he's the guy that makes the machine.
Yeah. Well, it's nice because he can like set his machine going, and it can get me while I get him.
Maravilloso.
I think that's the essential problem of this whole thought experiment is like, yeah, it's great to go back in time to live in a past society with all of this future knowledge. But like, if you don't know how electricity works, like actually,
I really don't. Yeah.
If you don't know like how to create a pump that can irrigate crops or whatever, like you're still just as fucked as any other past person, right? All of these ideas are just locked in your mind.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't do any like advanced mathematics. I probably don't speak the language of whatever past place I went to.
Oh, sure.
You know?
Yeah. It'd be tough.
You never think about the like weird like Middle English that you'd have to be able to speak or something.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
I mean,
you'd say fuck that and they'd burn you at the stake because that's like the most unsaid thing, right?
Do we really know?
I don't know. It does seem like cuss words were like much more trouble in the past than they are now.
There are always judgments of the time, aren't there?
Yeah. Well, do you want to see if there are any judgmental things going on in the Priority One inbox?
Oh, Ben, we are the judges of what goes into the Priority One inbox.
Priority One message from Starfleet coming in on secured channel.
Let us begin with the promotional message.
Okay.
Here's how that one goes. Do you like fighting games? Doing combos? Tricky mind games? Do you like tabletop games? Counting cards? Poker showdowns?
Whoa.
Yomi 2 is the sequel to the original fighting card game. There's a digital version on Steam with a one-player campaign and online play, and a tabletop version coming in 2025. No booster packs here, just carefully balanced, pre-built character decks. For more info and links, go to bit.ly/YOMITWO. So that's Yomi 2.
Wow.
How about that? Greg from Yomi 2 going for the greatest gen bump here on this Steam game and a future physical card game here.
Amazing. I see that some codes, some Steam codes have been included here for you and me.
Yeah, Greg knows how the codes go.
A man must have a code.
And they've included 4 of them for you and me and Wynde and Rob or Bill, probably.
Wow.
How about that?
I'm looking at this box for the tabletop version. This looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a weekly gamer, aren't you?
Yeah, like bi-weekly. I should grab a copy of this and take it to my dungeon party. We break it up and do other stuff from time to time.
Looks legit.
Yeah.
I like it.
I like those, I think they're called like roguelike games, like the Slay the Spires of the world. This kind of looks like it might be in that vein.
Like how it looks.
Yeah.
Looks like a professional quality game here. All the colors and the box art and stuff. It's important to look good. If you're going to be standing over a table for hours and hours looking at cards and marbles and shit, make it look good.
Make it fun to look at.
That's what they did here with Yomi2. So bit.ly/Yomi2.
Wow. Adam, our next Priority 1 message is of a personal nature. This is from Gold Medallion Leader, and it's to Tony Todd. I just wanted to put a quarter in the machine and hear my two favorite podcasters talk about the late, great Tony Todd. Oh, man. Yeah, he passed away pretty recently as of this record. A real legend. Sorry to see him go. But I do not remember why it would be relevant for this podcast to bring him up.
I was asked to speak at Tony Todd's eulogy. As a famous Star Trek podcaster, I can understand why. And yet, when I look upon the faces of his assembled friends and family, I see confusion and contempt.
Yeah, hi, big fan of this funeral. I noticed that you put on a Klingon armor costume and then colored yourself the color of a brown Crayola crayon to deliver this eulogy, and I'm just wondering if you feel like that was an okay choice. I'm gonna take my answer over by the bouquets that people have been dropping off.
Get a life.
What can you say about the late, great Tony Todd? One of the best. I'm sad that we will not see any more performances from him because it was just an absolute treat every time he would pop up in a Star Trek episode. So
yeah, or anything else. Like, he just really lit up the screen in everything he ever did. He will be sorely missed, and especially by the Star Trek community. He gave so many amazing performances over the years, and yeah, it would have been a real fun thing to have a lobotomized Kern Worf meetup in some future Star Trek series. Oh well.
He makes the in memoriam reel at the Oscars, right? He has to.
Fucking better. Yeah.
They better not forget him. That's what I'll say.
They're doing some lobotomies not to preserve people's honor, but to punish them.
Well, don't forget that Priority 1 messages are a great way to support our programs. You can write one for us to say at MaximumFun.org/Jumbotron.
Hey, Adam.
What's that, Ben?
Did you find yourself an Edward Larkin?
Edward Larkin. More like Edward Lurkin. How about that? Yeah?
Yeah.
It's good, right?
I think you put your finger right on it.
Snell
is the Edward Larkin.
Yeah.
The Edward Larkin.
Yeah.
By far.
Easy one.
Adam, why don't we close out the show with the smash hit signature segment of Greatest Trek. It's the Warning Bois segment, where we thank someone who said something nice about our show on the internet for the whole world to see, thereby helping us rise through the algorithmic ranks and achieve podcast supremacy.
If we're not there, we're gonna be.
We're on our way.
With how many people are talking about our program.
Prepare a buoy and launch it when ready.
Warning buoys.
An emergency buoy.
A warning buoy.
Ben, I got a message here. It's posted to Apple Podcasts.
I love that. I love that about this message.
Yeah. It's a 5-star review from TCJX.
Okay.
Headline, HR concern. Here's that review. It has been 2 whole years since I recommended this podcast to a coworker without realizing how much of the content is highly unsuitable for work. I have spent many waking hours sweating bullets, waiting for the email instructing me to sign on for a Zoom meeting with human resources. In my haste to share my love of Trek with that coworker, I forgot how much Ben and Adam talk about cranks and dongs, the gore setting, illicit substances, petty theft, and other subjects not suitable for the workplace. My delight over how much this podcast makes me laugh and enjoy new Trek overrode my instincts for self-preservation. Whatever you do, do not recommend this show to your coworkers. Recommend to your friends, your loved ones, and your mother, but do yourself a favor and keep Greatest Trek and Greatest Generation out of the workplace.
That is very well written, TCJX.
That is just the sort of review that tells the story of this thing.
That really is an amazing thing to think about, like recommending a podcast to a coworker and then never hearing back from them. Mm-hmm. That's the thing about recommending a podcast, right? Like whenever somebody does it, I go like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. You know, like I don't think anybody's interpreting that as I am definitely going to like take time out of my day to listen to your podcast recommendation. But you have to leave the possibility open that is what that meant when you're a TCJX and you've recommended this to a coworker.
How do you think it feels to be the host of the podcast? We were just in mixed company with the producer of the Decon Chamber, and we were introduced as like Star Trek podcasters, funny Star Trek podcasters. And I met him and a bunch of his friends, and we got along great. And then we got to the moment in the hang where one or two of them were like, hey, I want to listen to your show. Give me the download details. And they handed me their phone, and I found the show, and I got them subscribed. And
wow.
I can only imagine the hell that broke loose after they listened to our show, after working so long and hard on their show. Like, very different types of programming.
Man, how did that happen? That you just happened to be in the presence of this producer?
You were there, Ben.
I was?
Yeah.
Oh, shit. Oh, my God. My mind has become porridge.
Yeah, you were right there.
Wow.
This is the Denny Den hang at the Back to the Future thing.
God damn. I don't remember any of this.
Yeah.
Back to the Future?
Yeah. Anyway, I know what you mean, TCJX, and I feel you. Hopefully HR doesn't come down on you. Just always remember that HR does not work for you, it works for the company.
Well, this has been a ton of fun. I hope we learn a little bit about what's coming next week from Lower Decks and Greatest Trek in these credits that Wynde Priddy is about to read.
Greatest Trek is an Uxbridge Shimoda podcast on the Maximum Fun Network. It's hosted by Ben Harrison and Adam Pranica, and it's produced and edited by Wynde Priddy. Next week, Ben and Adam will be back to cover Lower Decks Season 5, Episode 8. It's called Upper Decks. Max Fun members who support this show monthly keep us going, so if you want to pitch in, it is so quick and easy to set up a membership, and you get instant access to all the great bonus content that's available right now, plus all the new bonus episodes that Ben and Adam put out every single month. Go to MaximumFun.org/join, and we really appreciate your support. Thanks to Nick Dittmore, who created the show art, and Adam Raguseo, who composed the theme music. Thanks to Rob Adler and Bill Tilley for all of their work on the @GreatestTrek social media pages. Make sure you're following some of those accounts and use the hashtag #GreatestTrek when you post about the show online. We're also on YouTube, so make sure you're subscribed over there, and all the great merch you hear about is available at podshop.biz. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week on Greatest Trek.
Maximum Fun,
a worker-owned network
of artist-owned shows,
supported directly by you.